So to start off, you know, the team suffered a loss today, and the last couple of games have been some hard losses as well. Yeah. I'm curious, there seems to be a little bit of a slump for you guys, even though you looked so strong throughout all of Stage 1, and you started the Stage 2 really strong. Where is that disconnect happening? Are you just getting outplayed? Are other teams getting better, or is there something internally that needs fixing?
You know, I really think it's, for a lot of the teams in OWL, I think it's like being able to endure the schedule and being able to come out every week with the same amount of energy that you did the previous week. So for us, I think a lot of what's causing us to not perform as well is just not sticking together as a team as well as we should. Like, not even like in the game, just outside of the game, just as a unit. Because I feel like a lot of teams are being pressured by the schedule, by how many games you have to play a week, and then trying to fit in those scrims to be prepared for the next team when you don't really have that much time, right? So it's all about just that endurance, and I think that we've just hit a little rough patch, but it's nothing that we're as a team all that worried about. I know, I'm not worried. I know we're all great players, so we can definitely pull it back.
So speaking of scheduling, whenever there seems to be a hiccup, Blizzard's been pretty responsive with trying to adjust. But some teams are playing their 2 games a week back to back. Others have that day break. What do you prefer? Like, what helps you? Do you like having an extra day of practice to prep?
Yeah. I think definitely the day break is like pretty key. I think that trying to schedule matches back to back, day to day, is something that should be avoided. And if it's not completely avoided, it should be like, you play really early on the first day, and then you have the rest of that day, and then the rest of the beginning of the next day to practice and really prepare yourself mentally. So like if you have an early morning match on like Wednesday, and then a really late match on Thursday or something like that, just so that you have the time to actually prepare, not only in scrims, but just mentally, just take a little like soft reset and stuff.
Sure. So
I definitely think that, the back-to-back days are the real killers. It's really hard to fit in that practice, because you're always going to be preparing the most for either the team that you think is the best, or the first match you run into, right? So like if the first match we run into is Valiant, we're going to be putting a lot into them, especially because we think they are a really good team, so we need to prepare a lot. It doesn't leave much time to then go against Mayhem, because we were going to be playing different maps. They're a completely different team, and then we only really have 6 hours tomorrow, to prepare. So it's definitely rough. Yeah.
Gotcha. So on days like today, what's that post-game reflection like? When you, how much time is invested into it? How much time spent looking back versus looking forward, and how do you adjust? Going into another game the following day potentially after something like that.
I think we as a team, we try not to look in the past that much. We only look at the things that are relevant. So if we share maps with the Mayhem match coming up, we'll do a VOD review. We'll probably try to do a VOD review tonight of the matches that we obviously underperformed on, and on the maps that we're going to be repeating against Mayhem later this week. So we'll do self-reflection, but we'll do it in a constructive way, where we can actually look at the maps and then be like, okay, we play Mayhem tomorrow on this. What are we going to do to make sure that we don't mess up like we did last time? We really try not to dwell on the negativity, especially today. I think we were a lot more lighthearted about the loss compared to against like New York and Philly. Maybe we're just getting used to losing. At a certain point, it does start to hit you less hard. When you're so good and then you start losing, it's like it really, right? But like once you get used to it more and more, you can bounce back more easily, I think, because you just want to prove everyone wrong again, and it's not a catastrophe every single time you lose. So yeah, it's a little bit of self-reflection, but we definitely try to look forward, because we already know we have such a good standing still in the league, so there's really not much to worry about in the long run. We just want to make sure that we maintain the status quo of...
Well, definitely. And you're certainly capable of it. I mean, we've seen, what was it, 16 maps? Yeah, 16 map run? Like, that's...
We're like 19-1 or something like that.
Yeah, that's insane. So I think a lot of Houston fans are looking to see that bounce back. Obviously, everybody knows you're capable of it. You're still a force to be reckoned with. Nobody underestimates you, certainly. So knowing that the pressure's on, do you have any words to fans who are standing by you even through probably the toughest time in the season for you guys so far?
Yeah, I mean, we love all the support. If you're on the edge, just all I can really say is, believe in us, because we're going to bounce back, and we are. Such great players, and we'll do our best to not disappoint everyone who has stood by us the whole time.
Cool. So moving on to a more lighthearted topic here. So we've seen a lot of signs lately for various crossover mechanics for characters, let Piggy fly and all that fun stuff. What's been your favorite that you've seen, and what do you think would be the most fun to just play with in game? As like an arcade mode or something?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really tough because there used to be a mode back in Team Fortress 2. Actually, it was like a mod where it was just a randomizer where you'd like spawn as one class and then you'd be given like a rocket launcher where you normally wouldn't have one, and it was just so fun. It would be really hard to pinpoint like what my favorite would be, but it would definitely be an amazing arcade mode to like just pick Roadhog and just have like a rocket launcher and start flying or something. It'd be so cool. So it's definitely a great idea. Definitely looking forward to that. Yeah.
Right on. So Stage 2 saw a lot of changes. I'm curious, what has been your favorite change so far between like the meta, the various different maps that you guys get to play on, the character balance changes? What's been the most positive side of that for you?
I think just anything that, for me, at least personally, is whatever relies on tanks the least amount of like tanks in ratio to the other heroes in the game, because I think it's something that, you know, I've always just been like a DPS player, so like I've never really flexed off onto tanks and stuff. And when there's too many tanks, it just doesn't feel, you feel more limited. So anything that like opens up these like clutch plays from like Zenyatta or like you know, Tracer plays, Genji plays, Soldier plays. I just love like the fast-paced action. So like anything that's you know, not Reinhardt with like 2 tanks behind him is like a preferable meta for me.
Sure. So with Lucio back in favor, we're seeing a lot more Boink, and we've seen him perform well even on characters other than Lucio. It feels like we're seeing a lot more of you as well, which is great. So how does those dramatic changes in roster regularity affect your prep and your practice coming into, you know, compared to last stage and coming into this stage?
I think like it's kind of like a mixed bag where you know, you want your players who don't play as much to get reps in, because playing in Overwatch League matches and even scrims and stuff, it's like the hyperbolic time chamber of practice. It really is. Like, you compare practice, you know, for teams I've been on in the past, even if we played like 6 hours a day, it wasn't at the same level as OWL is, right? You play like one scrim, you know, in an OWL setting, and you feel like wow, like I just got better, you know, like it's so dramatic. So I think it's like important to put players in that aren't getting a lot of time, just so that they can like, you know, they don't disappoint, you know, because like everyone else is grinding. If that person isn't, then like it can really affect like their growth as a player, I guess. It's kind of difficult because, I mean, like not for me because I come in fresh or whatever, but I always thought it would be hard, and it did show to be hard to be that player who comes in midway through the set. So big props to, you know, like Jake for even like watching the first match and then being able to like come to the second match as hot as he usually does. I think that's like the biggest hurdle, is really for the players who don't start the match. You know, you put another player in after like the first match concludes, and it feels like you're just like forcing something in sometimes, because like everything changes, right? The environment, you know, like one player will talk more than another, they'll bring like a different kind of feeling to the team. So it's all about like being able to flex between like the players that you substitute in and out. I think that really makes a strong team.
So speaking of changes within the roster, you guys have Fact Fiction now. What's it been like working with him? And you know, I know he's part of Team USA, and some of these guys have history with him. So what's that been like, incorporating him into the team, bringing him into the Houston way of life, and just working with him in the game? So
we're still in the process of actually moving him here to LA. But he's been like a very strong presence in our Discord and in our team discussions and stuff. He's like a very cerebral player, so it's like important to have someone like that. And it's also, you know, someone to take the reign if like Muma feels sick, or like even just to give him ideas, you know, bounce ideas back and forth. When you have a substitute for a role, you can have that role watch that player during matches, during scrims and stuff, and be like, oh, you could have done this. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. But he's been, you know, it's been pretty much flawless, like the integration of him into the roster, I would say. You know, we don't have him here, so, you know,
it's the beauty of the internet.
The only thing he can do poorly is be a bad roommate, you know, because he's been amazing on every other sense. You know, he's given a lot of great input, and he's always there for us when we're playing, and he you know, throws feedback into the channel when he watches the matches and stuff. So he's definitely been awesome.
Fantastic. So last but not least, we got contenders coming up. The academy teams put together and everything. I'm curious what your relationship with them has been like. Have you been interacting with them, practicing with them, scrimming, all that fun stuff? And how you feeling about that? Does it feel like you guys are within the same org, with part of the same team, you know, feeding into one another, or does it kind of feel like two separate entities?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone in our team, we try to create like a familial, you know, setting for everyone that's in the team. We don't really practice against them because I think it's really beneficial to practice against the teams that you're going to be playing. You know, it just makes more sense, right? Like, especially because the academy teams are going to be playing a different patch, you know, eventually and stuff. Like, it's going to be, you know, so like they're going to have like a different style. They're going to be used to be playing, you know, different heroes and stuff. So it's important to be able to surround yourself during practice with things that you're going to actually encounter in the matches. So we haven't really scrimmed against them, but you know, everyone who's a part of, you know, Outlaws and Optic is, you know, we're all a big family. So
excellent.